Hi everyone, what's this? A cooking video? No, not from me, but I just happen to be cooking today. I've been following a low carb diet since about end of March, early April, and I've lost 44 pounds. But the last few months since my birthday in September, it's kind of laid off a bit, but I'm still trying to be good, and my weight has stayed stable. So you know, I've got to pick it up in other ways. I really got to knuckle down to it after Christmas and the New Year, after the holidays, because that's always an awkward time. But what I'm doing is trying to find some recipes that are low carb. You can still enjoy a lot of all the food that's coming up and maybe indulge a little elsewhere. But what I've actually found is that if I consume too much sugar, normal sugar, not I don't mean any sugar-free products, but any kind of, you know, sugary type stuff for too long a time, I'm getting a reaction now. And part of that, well, no, you don't want to know, but getting a reaction, and I'm realizing that my body's now saying, no, you can't do this anymore, which is good in a way. Anyway, trying to find some recipes that I can enjoy, and my wife is actually enjoying them too, so that's a good thing, because we could all do with less sugar or no sugar if you want. But anyway, as I say, this is not a cooking channel. It's not going to be, except for when we finally get out on the road. My wife loves cooking, and she's going to be wanting to do a lot of experimenting while we're out there having our little trips. When eventually our van comes, which that's a whole other story we'll talk about in another video, but hopefully next year, 2023, we'll be able to start building it out simply and get out on a few trips, and then we start working towards full-time van life. Anyway, today I am not only cooking up some bacon, which I'm going to have to flip over and move around a bit so it doesn't get all stuck and burnt, but I'm also trying out a recipe for biscotti, because I normally, every Christmas holiday time, I make Giada De Laurentiis' family recipe of biscotti, and it's very good. I will put a link to that down in the description if you'd like to see that. But the one I'm making today, and for the life of me I can't remember what the website is now, but I will put a link to that too down in the description. So all credit to this person. I'm hoping it works out, and they hope they come out really well, because it will be a way of being able to have something like that over the holidays and enjoy. Anyway, gotta go and turn the bacon over, and I'll be back in a moment. Hi, I'm back again after turning the bacon. It's coming out nice and crispy, very tasty. Got it on sale at Price Chopper a couple of weeks ago, and need to start cooking it up, and it's always good as a little snack that you can have, you know, and put in a low carb wrap or something like that. Anyway, as I say, this is not going to be a cooking channel, not from me anyway, and I'm not here to preach about low carb or keto or any other kind of eating, dieting, lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, but it is part of my life, and it is part of my future. So, you know, every now and then I might share something about that, just the same as, even though I say this isn't going to be a cooking channel, it's also going to feature my wife cooking, because that's what she loves to do when we're out camping, along that style. We're not ever going to be the typical cooking channel. Anyway, what I have in here is, oh, and I did just look up the website I got this recipe from, and that is from inspectorgorgeous.com. Not Inspector Gadget, but inspectorgorgeous.com. So I'll put a link to that as well, this particular recipe, down in the description, and check it out if you'd like. I see a couple of other recipes on there I want to try, but this is the first one I'm trying from this particular website. Anyway, in here I have, trying to mush out some granulated sweetener lumps in here. I should have perhaps put it through a sieve or something. I'm not your gourmet chef, you know, but I can cook. But 1.5 cups of almond flour. I'm not going to go through the whole thing exactly, but I put in some brown sugar swerve, some stevia, baking powder, xanthan gum. That's about it for the drying. Oh, and 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. That's it for the dry ingredients. You have 1 egg and 1 egg white that will get beaten up in a minute and thrown in. A teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, get the good stuff, and the remaining leftover egg yolk. Sorry, that's my oven beeping to say it's ready. The remaining egg yolk acts as like an egg wash with a bit of water before you put the biscotti loaves in the oven. The oven is set at 350 degrees. It often lies to us because it's a crappy oven, but that beeping tells me it's up to temperature. Well, we'll see. Okay, back from turning the bacon again. I'm on the last batch now, so this should be the last thing I have to do before it's all finished and done. Very, very tasty, nice and thinly sliced, so comes out all nice and crispy. One thing you do get plenty of left over is some good bacon grease, so that always comes in handy for frying up your eggs and so on. Okay, let's see if I've got the right amount here. I've got to cut a bit off here. Need 5 tablespoons of softened butter, which I am just going to get a knife. Which you're supposed to chop into the dry ingredients. I'm not sure what chopping is going to happen, but there you go. Right, that's 5 tablespoons going in. Get rid of that. And chopping. As I say, this is not going to be a cooking channel, so don't expect anything really professional and expert here. But I just wanted to take the opportunity to check in with you a bit. We're still, as I say, there'll be a bit more in a later video, but we're still waiting for Ford to let us know that our van is ready to go onto the production line. I'm going to do this with my fingers, people. On the production line, they're having supply issues with parts and so on. So nothing surprising there in these current times. But of course, we're wanting to get our van. We're hoping it's going to be ready in April time, but we'll see. Got no idea how long it's going to take to be ready to come off the production line and be delivered to us. So, and then we can start building out. But we're hoping it's not going to go too far into next year. They send us, they're good. They send us an email about every, I would say, 5 weeks, months to 5 weeks, just letting us know that they appreciate our custom and thank you for our order, and they know how we must be getting anxious now and getting impatient and so on, and assuring us that they're just as anxious and impatient as well while they're trying to get parts and so on. So obviously they want to get going with their 2023 orders, but we'll see. We're not expecting to hear anything until the new year, and then that might be another email that says, we're sorry about the delay and we'll come back to you next time, and so on. So we'll see. Got a clumpy lump of swerve there, but let's get rid of that. That's not going anywhere. So I'm just kind of massaging the butter into the almond flour, coconut flour, and so on. This recipe's new to me, so I've got no idea how this turns out. But if you're not worried about low carb or keto or anything, then check out the Giada De Laurentiis recipe for holiday biscotti, she calls it, and it's very good. Everybody loves it. And my wife is of Italian heritage, ancestry. Her mom loves the biscotti, so it's on her mum's side, the Italian side, so loving that, so that's great. Anyway, I think I'm pretty much got this into a kind of, I said chop it in, but I'm thinking of kind of getting it to a crumb stage. And you need a teaspoon of that. Actually, it's pretty much what I've got left is a whole teaspoon, so that's good. Right, okay. So I've got a little bit of egg in there. I come from a mostly Scottish family. Being frugal is the name of the game, so you don't waste anything. Something left in a bowl, then you get it out. None of this wasting. Anyway, here we go. Smells good. Smells really good. Probably because of the vanilla, but there you go. Anyway, I am going to give that a mix up with my hands, I think. Still got a little bit of egg there. I know, I'm a cheapskate, I'm sorry. What can you say? Anyway, seems quite wet. Quite wet for biscotti dough. I'm used to the other one, as I say, from the holiday biscotti from Giada. That I'm used to that one. This seems pretty on the wet side, but what you find with anything, coconut flour is absorbent, very absorbent, so you never use as much of that as you do almond flour. There's a ratio, you've got to look it up. Next stage is to put some parchment paper on a baking sheet and form this. It says into 3 logs, but I don't know, not sure. I'll have to see how it comes out when I go to shape it on the sheet pan. I'm going to show you a trick in a minute I learned from someone else, and I'm sorry, but I forget which website I read it on, but how to kind of get the parchment paper to stay down in the pan and not try and come back up again. Right, okay, 1 baking sheet, enough parchment paper to fill it, hopefully. What I found on, sorry, not crunching, excuse me, but you wet it under the faucet. Squeeze it out. And it's wet, but that will dry out, and it makes the paper more pliable. So now you can kind of put it down and shape it better. I also found, and this is something I saw on Must seem pretty obvious to all you professional bakers, cookers, you know, cookers, chefs out there. But Sarah on CJ's Keto Kitchen, she has these clips that she puts on the side as well on her pans, and we had a whole bunch of these that we never used for anything, and now all of a sudden I'm using them for everything. But you just put them, I'm actually one short now, see, using them so much now, one short. So you clip it like that, and you can leave them on there, they're metal, leave them on there in the oven, or just take them off when the parchment paper is dried a bit and it's moulded to your actual shape of your pan, and it stays like that. Cool, huh? Wow, makes me happy. Anyway, I am going to shape this dough. I still feel, I don't know, no, maybe it's absorbing a bit more, and that will be the coconut flour that will do that. Anyway, I'm going to form this into some logs, show you what it looks like before I pop it in the oven, and we'll go from there. Alright then, I'm thinking maybe, because they say 1 inch to 1.5 inches, I guess that's kind of high. You know, what I'm doing, I'm following what I've always done before with the other recipe, and I'm feeling like, you know, we only need 2 logs. It doesn't make as much as the other recipe does, but we'll, you know, it's only got to work, isn't it? Surely it's got to work. Anyway, this will be different, but you know, if it makes you feel like you're having something close to biscotti or whatever it is you're going for, any of the cookie recipes that are low carb and keto or whatever. Okay, now we're at the stage of just mixing up this little lonely egg yolk in a little bit of water, just to give it a little egg wash. These are just kind of plain. Normally what I do, I put like cranberries or raisins or pistachios, chopped pecans, chopped walnuts, that kind of thing. I've made chocolate ones in the past with that other recipe. So if this one turns out well, I'm gonna experiment. Actually, it comes from a recipe that they call, the website calls, whoever it is, he, she, calls a snickerdoodle biscotti, because it's got cinnamon in and a bit of sugar and that kind of thing. That might be worth trying sometime. But I'm not gonna, I just want to try and see what it's like plain wise first. Right, just going to get my little brush. Right, had these things for years. They're great silicone brushes. So you're just supposed to just, you don't do this in the other recipe either, so curious to know what this does. Makes it a little glossy on top, I suppose, but we'll have to see, because it's all one big adventure, maybe, or a disaster, one or the other. And if it turns out to be a disaster, then I doubt it'll have anything to do with the person that came up with this recipe. It'll probably have everything to do with whatever the hell I've been doing with it. And our oven too, because our oven, I don't know if it's a thermostat problem, we get so frustrated with it. You turn it on, it takes forever to light up, come to the temperature, and then it sometimes dips and doesn't keep the temperature, so you could be halfway through cooking something and what was 425 is now 280, and it's, you know, degrees Fahrenheit I'm talking about. So, you know, frustrating as hell, really is. Surely life can't be that hard. Huh. As if we have much to worry about, really. But there you go. We're a simple couple, a simple family. Anyway, I'm going to put these in the oven, see what happens. And then when they come out, anything like this almond flour, you've got to really let it cool, because it has a tendency to be so delicate and fall apart unless you let it cool completely. And then with biscotti, because the word biscotti means twice baked, or as such, so when it cools down, you slice it into slices, and then you pop the slices back in the oven to brown up and crisp up. And really good, really good. Anyway, let's see what happens, and then we'll be back when they're done. Okay, here they are, fresh out of the oven after about 18 minutes. Looking pretty good. Got to let them cool for about 5 minutes, and then supposedly we'll be able to slice them and pop them back in the oven for about another 7 to 8 minutes, but to keep an eye on them. Anyway, looking good so far. They smell really good. So yeah, I'll come back when I go to slice them, and let's see how easy that's going to be. What do you think, Harry? Hey, they smell good? Do they smell good? What do you reckon? He says, I don't know until they're ready and I can sample a bit. Anyway guys and gals and peoples, we will see you in a bit. And there goes Harry, obviously very disinterested, but you never know, he'll be interested when it comes to tasting time, won't ya? See you in a bit, guys. Okay, well, here comes moment of truth, or one of them. I've let these cool for longer than the 5 minutes, because basically I was just a bit too scared to do it any sooner than that. So, okay, so I'm able to pick up one of them. I'll leave the same parchment paper on there, why not? The frugal side of me again. And let's see what we can do. The idea with something like this, okay, it's not bad. Something like this is to slice them fairly thinly. And if you buy the ones that come in the packets that were made, who knows how long ago, the really thin ones that you then should dip in your coffee or your cappuccino or whatever, they're very, very thin, kind of like really biscuity thin. But the ones I do, that other recipe I do, and the reason why I keep referring back to that recipe is because it's the only one I've ever yet tried, and it would just happen to be great. So stick with what works well. But usually you'd the logs would be a bit wider than this, probably about the same thickness, height wise, a bit wider, maybe a little bit more, and you'd slice on the diagonal, and I would probably make them about that much. I'm thinking of making these just slightly narrower. Okay, had to stop for a minute because my dog decided to bark at the dog next door outside. Anyway, back we are, and I'm just doing a little kind of gentle soy action. They're still pretty, I'd say maybe fairly delicate, but you know, they're all right. You can handle them. Knock them on this side, putting them on the pan, as you can hopefully see. Smell really good though. But then, you know, we're talking butter and vanilla, and yeah, well, there you go. It's a winner right there. All right, just putting these, laying these out, and hopefully, and they go back in for about 7 to 8 minutes. You know, so you can pick them up fairly well. Yeah, another 7 to 8 minutes, then hopefully they will crisp up. The recipe says put them in for that. I forget how long to kind of leave them after that, but it said if you can leave them a good 2 hours, they become crispier. We'll see. I mean, if they taste good, I'm not gonna worry too much about it. Sorry about that. Another little Harry interruption. He's I think he thinks he owns the whole road, but you know. Anyway, crisis averted, whatever it was in his mind. Right, so I'm going to finish just cutting these up and pop them back in the oven, which hopefully is still at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And we'll see what they're like when they come out in about 7 to 8 minutes. Hopefully good. See you then. Okay, here they are out of the oven. I had to almost double the amount of time for this stage, and I flipped them over halfway through because they're browning on top, and when you turn them over they were looking still pretty moist. Pulled out these 2 end pieces, tasted a little bit, of course. Yeah, it tastes pretty good. I mean, next time, if I do make them next time, then I'll do something like put in chocolate chips or almond flavouring, some nuts, cranberries, whatever, you know, that kind of thing. Chocolate chips, of course, being sugar-free. And we'll just see how you go. I mean, you can pick them up. They feel pretty good. They're probably pretty crispy, but they're still kind of soft inside. But I'll come back when they've cooled down for a few hours, and we'll see how they work out. Okay, this is me back again. I didn't film what happened at the very end when we got to taste test these. Got distracted with something else, and that was the end of that. We enjoyed them very much, but they weren't really what we consider typical biscotti. They stayed pretty soft, more of a chewy texture, which was fine because they tasted very good. And if I do it again, then as I was saying before, I'm going to put in something else like some cranberries or nuts or chocolate chips would probably be good. This is the future me about 6 days later or so, and I finished the last one of these yesterday afternoon, and it was just as good as it was 6 days before that. So they don't go stale, and you know, something that doesn't have any preservatives in it, you've got to eat within a certain time or freeze it. But it was okay. It worked out very well, and they, as I say, they were very tasty. So have a look at the website, have a look at the link to this recipe if you're so inclined. Definitely also, if you're so inclined, check out the Giada de Laurentiis recipe as well, that I've also put a link for down in the description. And I hope you enjoy. Anyway, this is the day after Christmas where I come from. It's called Boxing Day, and I hope you all had a good Christmas, happy holidays, whatever it is you celebrate and honour. Hope it's going good for you, and we will see you in the next video, hopefully with some up-to-date news on our van. Anyway, take care, and we'll see you in the next one.